10 stocks to buy for next week, small cap, large cap, several different sectors. Let's jump right into it. So the very first one that we're going to focus on is Tesla. Now, we've been talking about this for some time, and make sure you stay to the end because I'm going to go over the indexes. But if you take a look at what's going on with Tesla, I have a really tough time hearing that the market is going to fall out of bed. Now, quad witching was today, if you're watching this. Point blank, you were at 11-to-1 on put to call ratio today. Everybody was waiting for the end of the world. It didn't happen. You're going into the Fed meeting next week. Does this look like something that's going down? Okay, so if you have a leading stock like this and it's not falling out of bed, you need to pay attention to it. All right, you really need to pay attention to things like this. Now, if you focus on this kind of level, you have a downward trend line right there, but you start by breaking one, not all at once, right? So here we are again, right on it, testing it, looking to break. Cup tries to form a handle, breaks down, second time's a charm, and we can head right back to that 350 level. Do not rule out these leading stocks, and let's just deal with one fact as we go forward. Okay, they crack the generals. The very first thing they do before you have some kind of rally is cracking the generals. Now, that never really happened here with Tesla. We never really got absolutely cracked in comparison to some of the others. You have a 40% drop here. Okay, but some of the others that are going to be in the top 10 are going to be beaten down generals that got cracked. So you have a 50% retracement, which is exactly what you see. Usually 80% of stocks, when you go through some kind of correction like this, will go through a 50 or 80% correction before rebounding. You may be there. This may have been it. We're just not really seeing it yet. Could you roll over? Could some other news hit? Could inflation get worse? Yes. But we're not seeing signs of that. We're seeing signs of a stock that was bought today during quad witching ahead of a Fed meeting. Now, if we talk about the generals get cracked last, and you might want to remember that statement, you look at Apple. Apple, everybody wanted an iPhone this day. This day, no one wanted an iPhone, okay? So just so we're clear on this, Apple went from being a darling to being I think it's the largest shorted position dollar amount. It surpassed Tesla. So it just tells you where everybody's head is. You had a 10% drop in this name in about 5 trading days, okay? It's just absolute insanity. So what do you do about something like that? Well, you watch this, you see if it acts, how it acts here, and you see maybe if you're going to form some kind of hammer and bounce off of this. That's what you want to see. Maybe you can trade yourself back to this 50, but when they crack the generals, that's the end of it. And that's something that you have to keep in mind. I'll give you another example. This is not in the top 10. Apple is, but look at this, Adobe. Okay, Adobe is a leading stock. When you start throwing the baby out with the bathwater, you really need to pay attention. Something like Apple can easily bounce 10 points next week. You're going to this Fed meeting and we're going to address it at the end, but we kind of know what we're expecting. We're pretty much loaded for worst case scenario right now. So let's just focus on that. BJ's is one I've kind of been holding off on, and I think it's about time. And I'll show you the weekly here. But you just keep stepping up, stepping up, right? Gaps, stepping up. I'm going to put these all in a slide. The slide is going to be in the link in description. If you want it, just click on the link and it will take it to you. And everything that's in here will be in a slide presentation so that it's easier for you to refer to along with it. But if you just see how you're stepping up here over and over again, this is exactly the kind of thing that you're looking for. You're really just stepping up. Now look at this on a weekly. This is the kind of thing that you want to see. You're still at the highs. So for something like this to still be at its highs in a market like this, you need to pay attention to these kinds of names. It's not just these kinds of names that are doing it. It's some of the smaller cap names too. After we do the indexes, I'm going to show you one quick tip I should have just gone over that I didn't. I'm going to just wrap it up at the end though, so just make sure you stay to the end. It'll be very quickly, but it's something that can help you navigate these markets. CCRN, this has been something that people have been looking at for some time. I keep hearing about it when we do those live pre-market shows in the morning, and it's just not really my cup of tea, but it's actually setting up to be. So you see how this volume is starting to pick up, right? That's what you want to see. You're seeing this happen in the leading stocks. You're seeing, I use a 20 SMA line. You're seeing that start to pop open. Triple tops are extremely rare, meaning that usually you break through them. Does it mean that they all break through them? No. But this is pretty clean. So if you can pop over this line, something that you're definitely going to want to pay attention to. It's very clean. It's hard to miss that. But look for these volume lines to start pointing up, and I'll show you this tip to you really quickly. Tesla, you just fell out of bed on volume during this whole decline, right? You can see that here, and you can see down here how that happened. And look at how the volume's picking up. Going into this week, going into quad witching, volume's picking up. When you start seeing signs of that, you want to pay attention. See these little valleys? And then all of a sudden you start picking up in your volume. This is exactly what you want to see. Now, you're seeing this kind of behavior a lot. And when you witness it, people throw these stocks out of the way, okay? I'm going to tell you not to do that. With CPRX, something like this, all you do is overlay RSI, okay? Just overlay your RSI with it. Take a look at your RSI, see where you're at. We could bounce off this 50. We bounced off of it before. We bounced off of it here. We've bounced off of it here. Okay, you can also go through it, but I would suggest that you watch this line. I see this rolling as well, but look at this volume coming in. Look at the volume that came in today to catch this. So we didn't even get to the 50, and now look at this. So I don't think you're ready for prime time Monday, but I think it's very telling when you undercut these, right? So you undercut, and you're being stop hunted left and right. And I get asked what stop hunting means, and let me explain it. People know exactly where you're going to put your stop, right? It's no mystery to someone that's been trading for a long period of time. The majority of people that are trading for a long period of time don't put their stop here. They'll either put it higher or lower or find another spot because they know if you're going to break this, you're going to go here. And then you're going to trigger, and you're going to trigger everyone else. So now what they do is they trigger that stop. It's called stop hunting, get it, then they just rip it higher. And now those people are disgusted. All their hopes and dreams are smashed. And now you're here, right? And now what are they going to do? They're going to buy it back. That's a pretty simple trade right there. If you know those candlestick patterns we've gone over, I'll link that video at the end. You're going to see a Morningstar, similar Morningstar pattern sitting right there. I'm not saying you're going to run back up. You still have to work through this red nasty bar. But if you like this, the only thing that this has done is consolidate. It has not broken, and it's definitely the kind of name that makes sense. These smaller cap biotech names are going to move on their own merit right now. They're the kinds of names you want to look for, as well as leading sectors. So the number one sector of the year has been ENPH. Now, this was not one that I was interested in playing today at all, but it flew. Now, I was very surprised by that. It's just too thin for me on a day like today, but it absolutely flew. So if you look at this pre-market from quad witching, just that, look at that reversal pattern, right? It's actually called a crown. 2 down, 2 up, and then over. And when you see these, they usually revert, and then you have that gap fill. That's usually how these play out. Now, it's exactly what it did, and you're setting up. We just need to look at this on the weekly, and you just kind of need to take this. It's just absolutely incredible what this looks like. Look at that. So you came back, retested. It doesn't look that pretty, right? At first when it's retesting, but now look at that. So now we're closing at an all-time high into a weak market going into the Fed. What do you think is going to happen if it's 75 basis points or 100 basis points and people shrug it off? Believe me, we've shrugged off worse before. I've been doing this for a while, and I've seen it shrug off worse. So you want to see where the money's going, and it's definitely going in names like this. You can just see this huge flag being built. Now, HLIT is a little name that gets thrown around a lot, but you are setting up here, and you're setting up really very nicely. You're setting up right on that level. You're waiting to flip it. Look at your RSI. Look at your volume kicking in, right? That's exactly what you want to see. And this is the kind of move that you can get involved in and then kind of see how it plays out. But again, besides these smaller names, focus on these larger names too. Like they're setting up. I know most people don't recognize these kinds of setups below the 50 and I'm going to avoid it. I get it. But at some point, these hammers flip. There's a reason they call it hammer time. When these hammers flip and you can get into that gap, you can get back up here fairly quickly. It's 5 or 6 points on Amazon. And now you're up in Amazon. And if you're using this as your stop, you're at 2 to 1 on that trade. And then you can see how this plays out over the next couple weeks. It's a really nice way to get into a position when you understand how to enter. You're set up perfectly here. You're set up absolutely perfectly. So keep that in mind. Now, this one we played today, and it looks like it's going to be an absolute face ripper to me. Again, I'd probably be going heavier if we didn't have the Fed meeting, but right now, it's short-term hits, hit singles, and just wait and see what happens. Everything that we've bought so far, we've always had that extra opportunity to buy again, right? But if you take a look at something like Netflix today, this is perfect. Here's your undercut, tries to get over, doesn't, gets over today. And just so we're really clear about this, on quad witching, in which the markets got absolutely decimated today, we know wicks are price rejection. We filled that rejection. And then what we did is, right, because you can see how we filled it, right? So this is full bar here and this is not. Okay, someone bought in here. The person that bought in here decided yesterday they weren't going to do it. Well, today they did. Now, if you take a look at this, it's a really very simple trade. And we did this one in the trading community today, and we also did it with options. So once we gapped down, right, you had a beautiful trade, and then we all got FedEx this morning, and now you're going sideways, right? So you're coming down a little bit, but you can kind of see this little angle right here, right? And then as soon as you flip over that, all you're looking for is this higher high right here, okay? I'll put this in the slides as well so that you can see where we were, and I'll show you the timestamps. But if you take a look at this, once you got over, that was it. Then you come back down, you test. I'm going to give everybody another really quick tip. Start using staggered stops. So what they're doing to you is they're stop hunting. As I just pointed out, you're getting stopped out and then it's reversing on you. If you stagger your stop and do 50% here, even if they get you here, you still have 50% of the trade. 50% of this trade today, okay, would have gotten you up probably over 10 points. On the option at one point, we were almost up 100% on the option in a day in this kind of environment on a large cap name. So there is money to be made here trading. Now, you can see how you responded to this 242 level. That's the next level we really want to watch. We want to see how we act there. But when you see these setups and you stagger your stops, even if they got you here, right, you still have 50% of your position on. And if you're scaling out of it, as we're scaling into these rips, it allows you to not worry about this and know that you have a money management system that you're not going to lose money on the trade. And it keeps you in the trade the entire time. And that's your job as a trader, right? Now, if you focus on Netflix, where could this go? This could have legs. This could have a lot of legs. We have not seen lows nor gotten anywhere near the lows since this has been going on. So keep that in mind. If you get into this gap, I mean, this could just be an absolute monster. And now you have a lot of naysayers saying the ad market's not going to work. You love to see that kind of stuff because if it does work, all those people have to change their tune. So VIRI is a little small name. I'll tell you exactly why it's here. These little therapeutic companies, they all look like they're getting set up for big moves. Really simple trade, but you can see here that you just have a broken IPO, right? So this came out at the worst possible time, January 01. But look at these levels. You can see it. Let me show you this one first because that's the one that you just are having the hardest time with. So if you look at these levels, you can see that this is exactly the type of issue that you're having, right? But when you flip something like this, you're going to have a base. Look at the size of this base. So you don't see this very often, right? I mean, you have a 19-month base. If we zoom in, look at the volume. It's astounding. You absolutely cannot miss that volume. So that's definitely something to keep in mind. Now, in regards to the indexes, here's the SPY on the weekly. Look at your trend line. You sat right on it. I didn't really want to break that lower low. I certainly don't want a bearish engulfing sitting there. That's the last thing that I want. But it's there and we have to deal with it. It's very possible you just stay in here. We're going to have to see how we play Monday. I expect that to be light volume, but just watch this. Now, if you take out that lower low, all bets are off. So if you take out that lower low, that 382 level, you can see some more selling coming in, and obviously you can retest these lows. I mean, that's what everybody thinks is going to happen, which makes me believe that that's probably not what happens. Usually the masses are not right. That's usually the way it plays. And I've never seen so many people and so much short interest and so many people buying puts. So usually when you see this, the market teaches us a lesson. So again, you're seeing the same thing here, and you have 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. You're actually seeing a megaphone pattern. Well, even though it's a bearish megaphone pattern, don't assume that you're going to break down, right? So going into the Fed meeting, you're looking at these levels, you're looking at these specific patterns, and you can go and take a look at these on the weekly. You can go take a look at these on the daily, which we will in a moment here. But look at this, okay? So this is the 10-year. 10 years breaking out. So this is the kind of thing that you really want to see and you're going to want to focus on. Now, if you know that the 10 years there and the 10 years breaking out, you're seeing the VIX start to move, right? So we saw the VIX start to move a little bit, but we've just been on this roller coaster up. We took out the higher high and then we pulled right back down. And that's really what we want to focus on. So if we're popping over and then we're coming back, that's not really going to get us anywhere, right? So if we focus on the VIX and we focus on what's going on here, I don't see the panic. I really don't. As much pressure as they're trying to put on the market with the amount of put buying, we just aren't seeing it crack. It doesn't mean that it can't crack. It doesn't mean that it can't go lower. What I'm simply saying is when you start seeing signs like this where everybody's betting that we're just going to absolutely fall right out of bed, and then you just stop and you close above the open on horrific news, you need to pay attention. And you're going into a very tumultuous time Monday and Tuesday. So keep that in mind. Now, I said I would go through one specific thing and make sure that you look at the link in description so that you can get these slides if you want them. Now, this is a really quick tip anybody can do. This is RSI. You should be familiar with this. And all we're going to do is look for comparisons. That's what we're going to focus on, comparisons. So we know that at this level on RSI, sometimes we bounce. So if we take a look at that, and you line these up, you can see that every single time you're at this level, and all you're doing is comparison. In other words, you're finding spots on an RSI that correlate to when price reverses. And then you're looking for comparison. And I'd say you're getting darn close, if not there. Maybe we're a day or two away. Maybe a Fed meeting might be something that you might want to consider. Could be a driving force. So again, I'll include this in the slides. That's all I have this evening. I hope you enjoyed this. Please like this video and comment on the content. It helps me greatly with the algorithm, but also I want to create content that people like. I've got asked to do a ton of macro content, and we're going to probably start putting some out there because of you and asking. If you are interested in the trading community, we may be opening up next week for a short period of time. There is a preview link up here in the top right corner. Everybody have a great weekend and trade to win.